Hey, Gray McKenzie, founder at ZenPilot here, and I'm going to do a little bit of a different type of video today. I'm not taking you into ClickUp itself and taking you behind the scenes. Instead, I want to walk through a topic that just keeps coming up, and that is, hey, what leads to ClickUp implementations that are both successful in the short term for sure, but also have the staying power, the ones that are sustainable, and they are still rocking on the platform years later. Agencies, professional service firms are infamous for switching project management tools faster than every 2 years. And so tool hopping is this term that just I see over and over and over. Hey, we tried Asana, we tried Monday, we tried Maven Link. Maybe ClickUp will be the solution for us. Well, it can be the solution for you, but it's going to take sharing some of these common traits that I've seen shared among all of the most successful ClickUp implementation. So let me just take you through this real quickly. I'm going to back up for 1 second and say, don't think of it primarily as a ClickUp implementation. Like, it is a way that we work solution that most teams are actually after. Sometimes they've already solved some pieces of the puzzle, but these 3 pieces of the puzzle are always there. When what we're after is creating clarity from top to bottom in the organization, we need to be thinking of the tools. This is where ClickUp fits into the stack, but also the processes and the habits. So I could give you the most turbocharged ClickUp setup today out of the box, but if it's not customized to fit your processes and if your team's not trained on the right habits, it doesn't matter. So ClickUp by itself doesn't solve the problem. In the same way that processes by themselves, we could have the best processes, but if nobody follows them with the habits, and if they're super slow because we don't have the right tools, like, you're still kind of spinning your wheels there, right? And your team can have great habits, but without doing the right things and without having ways to do it efficiently and effectively, then you're flying blind as well. So all 3 of these things have to work in concert together. So I just want to point that out. That is not the 3 keys I want to talk about here, but I just wanted to kind of bring us back to that, zoom out on the issue a little bit and say, tools, processes, and habits, this isn't like, speed, quality, and budget. You have to pick 2 of the 3. This is like, we need to nail all 3 if this is actually going to be successful for you. So that's the scope that would be involved in a successful ClickUp implementation, is making sure we've got the right setup of ClickUp technically. We've got the right processes, living where the work actually gets done in the platform, and our team's trained on the right habits, and all 3 of those things have to be there. Okay, the 3 keys themselves, the first one is huge. There's got to be leadership commitment. It does not matter how badly your director of operations or that one specific project manager, and if you're watching this, there's a good chance you are one of those folks, wants this to happen if the leadership team isn't behind it. Commitment and buy-in from a leadership team is not always exactly the same thing as their personal commitment to use it in the day-to-day. I've done a lot of content on this as well, and I'm happy to just kind of reiterate that here. There are owners, specifically, a lot of entrepreneurs, who never want to log in or see a project management tool again. That is a luxury you get because of that position, and certain other folks might have that same type of luxury. But you can afford, in most cases, hopefully if you're running a healthy business, you can afford to hire somebody and have somebody do the admin work for you to take your day-to-day that's happening in the real world and translate it into the PM system and get the answers that you need about everyone else's real world information and translate it. So much better, like, the ideal situation is they're all committed. Like, I've got to make, at ZenPilot, my commitment is to use the tool, and the rest of the team is going to do that as well. And I think that's the better recipe, but that's not the only way to make this work. And I think forcing someone who's so gifted as a visionary and entrepreneur to buy into the exact same habits and behaviors as everyone else, like, this is the one place where I'll make an exception and say, at the ownership level, I'm happy to make an exception here. That is not where I would have landed 10 years ago if we were talking about this. But I've had enough real world experience to see this can work. You just need to know we're going to be paying a little bit extra to go make that happen. Either way, leadership commitment to the outcome that we need. Culture, like anything else, you're going to get what you celebrate and what you tolerate. Leadership has to be committed to say, hey, there are now things that we will no longer tolerate us not doing. And when people do follow the system and they're producing excellent work, we are going to celebrate that as well. So there has to be leadership commitment, because things. The other piece I would say is, during an implementation of any tool, but ClickUp specifically in this situation, things have to get a little bit worse before they get better. What do I mean by that? When you go to launch this tool, your whole team's been trained on it. Everyone's seen what is going to be better about this system. And at the same time, there's a day before, maybe a Friday of last week, where they were living in Notion or Monday.com or Jira or whatever the platform was. And they had their set of habits and routines, and they understood the flaws, but it was comfortable. Now you're building a brand new habit in a brand new system in many situations. Obviously, we do a lot of work with folks who are also already on ClickUp and need to take things to the next level. But they have a set of behaviors that they're happy or at least comfortable with, often not happy with, but comfortable with. So it has to get uncomfortable before they can experience the benefit. They have to lean in and learn a new tool or a new way of working before they can unlock the benefit. And if leadership teams chicken out at this moment and say, yeah, it's day 2, but not everyone's in it, or it's day 4, and there's somebody who's still having a hard time with it, and they say, I don't know, like it's probably not that big of a deal, just go back and do whatever. That's the quickest way to hamstring the success of your implementation. So that's number 1, is the commitment from the leadership team. Number 2, you need a strong internal champion. We have played and continue to play the role of in the ClickUp champion for teams where they are really strapped for bandwidth. I think that there's a essence of that role that we can augment from the outside for a period of time. And then there's a sustainable, like we need to internalize all this stuff. This is core to our business that we cannot provide over the long term. And so our role in supporting a team needs to shift at some point in time. But the very best clients that we have and the very best teams who have success on the platform have a strong internal champion who has a couple things. They've got competency in the platform, almost never on day 1. Sometimes you get somebody who you hired in and they've gone through this before, and they've got some competence in the tool. But either way, they're willing to do the work. They're hungry enough to do the work to figure out, to get a lot of the answers. That might be from a company like ZenPilot. That might be from reading a lot of our content, watching a ton of YouTube videos, trial and error, talking with other folks, like all these ways that we learn. But they at least understand and are comfortable diving into the platform and want to lead this for the team. And then the second thing that they bring to the table is some capacity to do it. So it doesn't matter how talented that person is. I would be an excellent internal champion based on the experience that I have in this space, and I have zero bandwidth to go do that for your organization personally right now. So like all the competency in the world doesn't matter if you don't have the capacity to do it as well. So both of those things are a huge part of it, but you need a strong internal champion to really drive this for the team. This is the person who internally people are going to look to first for answers. Hey, a new feature rolled out. What do we do with this? Or I'm not sure whether this should be a task or a subtask. What do I do with this? And it's also the person who's then proactively working through and making sure that adoption happens and finding the folks and saying, hey, none of your due dates have been updated in 2 days here. Like, we've got a problem. Why don't we sit together and let's get that taken care of? And I'm happy to walk you through that process and teach you what this looks like to do it well. The problem is not you, the person. The problem is the fact that these due dates aren't updated, and we're at risk of those habitually not being updated. And so we're sitting on the same side of the table. The problem's on the other side, and we're going to go defeat it together. That's what a strong internal champion does. And then the third thing is external expertise. So the reason that you're in the situation that you are right now is because you don't know exactly what great looks like. Like, how should we design this thing? There's a lot of risk and Q&A and trying to figure out, like, hey, how do we set this up? And we're trying to follow different models, and nothing is quite working exactly. You want external expertise. This is like any other tool implementation. A client hires you to implement something. It's the exact same reason. It's like, we want the folks who've done this 1,000 times before and know the different variables that create like so much. The difference, I was just having this conversation this past week, the difference between taking all the principles that we talk about in our methodology, or between taking like ClickUp, and everyone's got their own view for things and they've all been told the right stuff, and implementing that at like a level 5 or 6, which is pretty good in the grand scheme of things, and executing that at a level 9 or 10 is night and day. 5, 6 is like, you're probably just going to be pretty frustrated. You put a good amount of effort and resources into it, and you're not getting a whole lot of return on that investment. And a 9 or 10 is like, hey, we put in even more effort, investment, budget, time, whatever. But the returns that you like, it's such a power law in terms of the returns that you get off of that. Like the returns all go to the folks, all accumulate to the folks who have executed this at a level 9 or 10. So those are the 3 keys: leadership, commitment, and buy-in, a strong internal champion who's got both competency and capacity. That doesn't mean that they know everything about how to do ClickUp, but they're willing to dive in and do this. And this kind of stuff, systems thinking, comes naturally to them. And then external expertise in whatever form that shows up. That could be like your answer, maybe, hey, we're going to read 24 blog posts and we're going to watch 50 YouTube videos, and we think we're close enough like that we can sort this out. Or we're going to go hire somebody who's been through this 3 times before. Or we're going to engage with a firm like ZenPilot to bring in, like, somewhere this expertise has to come from. And you need all 3 of these things to work well in harmony together to be successful. That's all that I had for today. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments. If you're curious about working with ZenPilot, we are on a mission to help teams and professional service firms specifically build more productive, profitable, and healthy teams. We do that by streamlining your operations in ClickUp. So we're incredibly deeply focused on what we do. We serve professional service teams, agencies, accounting firms. There's, like, that's who our core target audience is. There's plenty of other cool teams who have come through and they've kind of qualified themselves in by the combination of their situation and business, and the type of leadership that they have. But we're primarily focused on this professional service use case. We're ClickUp's largest and also their top-rated solutions partner. We've served over 3,000 professional service firms. We've been doing this, helping these firms since 2013. And we're in your corner, like rooting for you, whether it's through content like this or one-to-one services. So if you have any questions, give us a call. Reach out and book a time at zenpilot.com/call, and we'll chat with you and help you improve your operations.